Greater Oxford, hello. Mark Raymond here, your friendly neighborhood property manager, along with...
Eric Hodge, you're from the neighborhood home inspector.
And we're here with episode number 4 of The Running Commode. It's a 15-minute monthly show here to help you with tips and tricks in the running of your home. We hope you like it. And boy, you've been busy lately.
It's been crazy. People who say they're not buying houses or not putting houses on the market, I can say that that's not true. There's tons of people out there doing it right now.
That's great. And
Yeah.
I like that post you had the other day about approval stickers. That was very informative.
Just because it says it's approved from the city doesn't mean you can't look at it. You got to check things
We're not
out.
throwing the city under the bus. But,
No, not at all.
Work can be done after the fact, and sometimes there's those
usually-
double taps and things like that, right?
It's usually when it happens, after the city said you're okay, then they'll come in and do their own thing, you know.
Absolutely.
So,
Well, I'm excited about our next guest.
Me
a
too.
Special guest. This is really great. This is a family-owned business, and it's based just north of us here in Metamora. It started in 2002. A gentleman by the name of Mark Edwards is the owner, and his daughter Mary is with us today. It is a land clearing and a tree pruning business. So, without any further ado, I'm going to bring up Mary Edwards here with Edwards Tree and
hey, Mary.
Thank you.
Thanks so much for coming.
Thank
so
you.
much for coming
Appreciate
out.
We
it.
really
Appreciate it.
appreciate you guys asking me to join you guys on this.
Absolutely.
Heck yeah.
Yeah.
I know
Yes.
you're excited about this. I'll let you go ahead and start with the first question here.
Yeah, so, in preparing this, I was trying to think, okay, homeowner, what would I ask? And then I'm like, I am a homeowner. What questions do I need
Right.
to know? You know, so
Exactly.
I started thinking. And I think the biggest thing is, because I have an oak tree in the backyard.
Absolutely.
And I know that certain trees, only certain times a year you can trim and prune those.
Yes. So, general rule of thumb, trimming or pruning any tree really is late fall to early spring. This helps, stop the disease spread. The tree is in dormancy, so its growth slows down. So most of its energy goes into healing those pruning and trimming cuts, and also it encourages healthy new growth come springtime. So late fall to early spring is really that sweet spot.
And how often?
Every 3 to 5 years, but your younger trees that you might have just planted, typically every 2 years to establish like a strong base. But your fruit trees, typically I like to tell people every year, especially if you're like really wanting to get some fruit growth. Like if you go by an apple orchard, they're constantly trimming their tops down on their trees to keep their apples coming.
Because there's energy into the fruit.
Yes,
Right, yeah.
absolutely. That's exactly.
Because it promotes, when you trim them,
Yes.
it promotes growth.
Absolutely. Yep.
Yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
Same with like flowers and stuff
Yeah.
like that too.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah. Yep.
Oh, good to know. So 3 to 5 years, like on like maples and oak.
Yes,
Stuff like that?
yeah. Your larger trees that will kind of grow. It takes them a little bit longer to grow back, but your younger trees that you might have just planted, you want to get a good base started on those. So.
I'm way behind on my tree trimming, is what you're telling me on my trees.
Yeah,
so okay,
so-
I guess we'll have to talk after the show.
Yes, exactly.
So for the folks at home that need to understand some terminology, can you give a little bit of background on the difference between pruning and trimming?
Yes, so trimming is usually used to keep a certain aesthetic of a tree. For example, someone comes to me and their crab apple's kind of wacky, so they want it shaped a certain way, that would be considered trimming. Or if you have some branches hanging over your house, too low on your driveway, you're hitting your head on the mower, you would trim those branches off, and that is considered trimming, whereas pruning is for the overall health of the tree. So we would go in and we would remove any dead branches, any crossing branches, which would be branches that are kind of overlapping each other and rubbing, causing some disturbance. Also, pruning is thinning out the canopy of the tree. So you want some wind movement through there because typically, and it's storm season. So if you have a tree that has no room for the wind to blow through there, the wind kind of just hits a wall, and that can lead to, the tops of your tree breaking out, the tree even uprooting. So it's nice to get in there and bring some life to the canopy. So, yeah.
Now I'm going to stick my neck out here. I do bonsai. I think I told you that.
Yes,
offline.
yeah,
And
absolutely.
is that pruning or is that trimming?
You know what? That's a good question. I would say it's probably a little bit of both.
Yeah, it
Yeah,
is.
yeah, I would say it's a little bit of both,
Yeah.
for sure, because that's an art
It
as
is.
well.
It
Yeah,
is. But
it
there's
is.
artistry to what you do.
Absolutely, yeah.
You wind up with a beautiful looking tree, a healthy tree.
Yes.
It just totally enhances property value.
It does, yes. I tell that to people a lot of time, especially some people come to me and they're like, I'm just selling my house. Is it worth it to trim this tree or prune this tree? And I say absolutely yes, especially if I feel like they're super overgrown, especially like over the house and like over the driveway. It just kind of, you want to open your house up, you know, in a sense.
Well, on your point right there, though, it's funny you said that, like, hey, I'm going to get ready to sell my house or whatever. And that's always, and I come across this, you know, when I'm looking at the exterior of a home and that, what if the neighbor's tree is hanging over there, over the property, and it's in bad condition? Like, what do you do in that situation?
If legally, if you have a tree that is your neighbor's tree, but it's hanging over your property, you are allowed to trim whatever is hanging over your property, but you cannot compromise the health of the neighbor's tree, meaning you can't trim so much off to where the tree will die. And if it is in super bad shape, like really dead and it just should come down, you and your neighbor have to talk and agree, kind of like a 50-50 type of deal. And we do encourage, if you can talk to your neighbor, to talk to your neighbor and tell them, hey, listen, this tree's hanging over the driveway, hanging over my house. Can I trim some branches off? You know, that sort of thing. But legally, you are allowed to trim what's hanging over your property, for sure. Yeah.
Well, we're coming up on a break here, but we're going to learn more, and we're going to talk a little bit about mulching and health of a tree in general.
Absolutely.
Right?
The most important thing.
Absolutely. We'll be doing that right after this.
Thanks so much for coming back with us after the break here. And again, we're talking with Mary here with Edwards Tree Clearing here. And we're going to jump into something right now that I've been seeing for years. And I learned one way, and I see it the total different way. And that's mulching around trees.
Yes.
So please explain, what's the proper way of mulching?
So I know what you're seeing. They typically call it volcano mulching, where it's just like a cone onto the tree.
I've never heard that before.
Yes.
That's a perfect
terminology. So
yeah.
Rule of thumb, and what they would want you to do is 2 to 4 inches of mulch around the base of the tree, but we're going to call it the donut method, where you have the tree and then you come out a little bit and you have your mulch just around the root area. You don't want the mulch piled high up on the trunk of your tree or piled high in general. It can cause, you know, root rot, trunk rot, which I bet you if you dug down in those volcano mulch trees, you would see some black. And if I even scraped it with my thumb, it'd be white underneath. That's your trunk and root rot. So that's typically.
Why do they do it that way then, if that's the improper way?
You know what? I wish I knew. So
I see it everywhere.
Yes, yeah. And I think most of the problem is no one's taking the old mulch away. They just keep putting new mulch on top of the old mulch, which is even worse. Think of it as suffocating your tree of oxygen, and it's just holding that moisture in, and it just leads to decline of health of the tree.
Well, sellers are happy,
Yeah, that's very true. That's very true.
Now, let's talk a little bit about the health of the tree, because
Yes.
you're mentioning root rot and things
Yes.
like that. If you are just standing looking at a tree, you're the expert, right?
Yeah.
But for the person at home that's standing and looking at a tree, how do I know my tree's not healthy, or there's a sign and I need to do something?
So some very common things that I see is your tree, you know, the leaves are supposed to be a bright green, and that's that chlorophyll. They can turn a like pale green to a yellow. That usually indicates that the tree is missing something in the soil. Most of the time it's nitrogen, but you can get a soil test done, and then you can do some deep root fertilization. Another thing is dieback of the branches, and that is when you look at your branch and the tips of it are dead. That usually indicates there is some root disruption. I see it a lot in people who build homes and they want to keep their trees, but they put a sidewalk through and they kind of disturb the roots there. Another thing is you notice any mushrooms or fungi. That means that there's some rot within the tree, which can be, you know, hazardous come long term. Another thing would be any insects you notice around the trees can be indicative of some rot and stuff.
And so we're seeing certain things like preserving the health of the tree.
Yes, yeah.
You know,
Proper mulching, like I'll go back to the, you know, keeping away, avoid driving over the roots and getting close to the trunk. So having that mulch out away from the trunk of your tree keeps your lawnmowers away from the trunk of the tree. I see that a lot, or like scalping over the roots with your lawnmower.
Yeah.
Proper pruning is pretty crucial. It really helps, especially because you're having someone come in there every couple years and really taking a look at your tree, so they can notice, hey, there's like a split or a crack here, or I'm noticing this. That really helps keep you informed about what's going on up top of the tree instead of below. Avoid over fertilization. There is such a thing. Just like with us, we don't want to take too many vitamins that we don't need. You don't want to give your tree too much that it doesn't need.
So I've never thought about trees this much.
Yeah.
It is always just there, and there's so much to it.
It is a bit overwhelming for
so
sure.
So you studied with an arborist? Is that how you got all this?
Yeah, yep. So I've been doing tree work for 8 years now, and I job shadowed a certified arborist, and I've studied it myself. I'm trying to become one. So then, I have all the certification I need to, say this information and stuff like that. So I've learned bits and pieces. I've read my books. My dad's a really smart guy, so he's taught me a lot. But
I'm sure being in the field all the time too.
Yes.
Seeing it firsthand.
Yes, absolutely. So through my 8 years, I've really learned a lot, especially going and bidding work, doing the work. I know how certain things need to be done, the proper way to do things, the proper way to cut your trees, trim your trees, that sort of thing. So,
which I'm sure is probably why having that knowledge and that has led to you guys getting the job with Lapeer County, right? The road commission.
Yes, yeah, yep. So they trust us. They know that we do good work. We get a lot of our work through word of mouth, and how we run our business and
which
stuff
is
like that.
Gold. I mean, word of mouth is that's the way to do it.
Absolutely, referrals mean the absolute best. It's like the best thing for us, and us being around for about 20 years.
And you have a pretty sweet new piece of equipment too you're using, right?
Absolutely, yes.
What is it called?
It is the Senebogen 718 tree handler cutting machine.
Senebogen?
Yes.
Sounds like something from Stranger Things or something.
It's German.
Okay.
Yeah.
It sounds like a sound system.
Yeah. Yeah. So
right?
it's a really good state of the art piece of equipment. We're gonna take that down the road. We can take trees down so much faster, efficiently. Also, kind of helps protect our crew as well. If there is like a dead, dangerous tree, we don't have to get too much on it. We can take care of it from afar.
And on the note of taking a tree down, when do you look at a tree and say, oh, this one needs to be taken down versus just preserving it?
Yes, yeah. So if there's a significant amount of dead, so if I look at a tree and a quarter or more, a third or more of the tree is dead, I usually consider like this tree needs to come down.
It's not coming back.
Yeah, it's not coming back. Splits or cracks within the tree usually happens, after a storm, which we've had plenty of. Yeah, and if your roots are starting to disturb like your sidewalk or your driveway, you kind of see how it humps up and cracks. Even if your tree is too close to the foundation of your house, it can, start to crack your foundation.
So this is where the respect comes in, like the tallest tree you've ever been up. This is the dangerous part of your job.
Yeah, so I don't really climb anymore, but I can tell you I've been 90 feet up in a tree.
Man.
Yeah.
Respect.
Yes.
Respect.
Yeah. So I just climb for fun now. I don't.
Is that why you were pushing for the new piece of equipment so you'd have to go up 90 feet?
I was pushing for it because I was like, that thing looks like a lot of fun. We should totally get that.
Right?
And it opened up a whole new avenue for us. So we're
Real
incredibly
quick,
thankful.
we're just about at the end here.
Yes.
Should I have the stump ground out when a tree is taken down, or should I leave it?
So it's not necessary, but leaving a stump can invite other pests and insects into the area. Kind of makes a hassle for mowing too as well. Also, most tree species like your oaks, maples, willows, those box elders, if you leave the stump, they will kind of sprout some new growth.
Yeah.
Which can be a hindrance.
Yes.
Yeah.
Okay.
Mary Edwards of Edwards Tree and Land Clearing. Thank you so much for coming out today.
Absolutely. I really appreciate it.
Coming up in September, we're going to have Brian Morang of Advanced Carpentry. He's going to talk about what he does with that wood after she cuts it down. We'll have a little bit of fun with that.
Awesome.
Thanks so much for tuning in and for your time and attention.